you and your entire life then gets taken out of, time itself.
I think
transplanted into another.
I think the fun way to do this would be have someone be like, oh, remember at the end of your adventure when you celebrated by going to that tavern and having that meal called the 1,000-year egg?
Alex, these last few weeks we've been doing some adventure hooks, and you've been giving me them for the most part, except for some incomplete ones that we were looking at. But today, I have an adventure hook that I want to give you.
Perfect.
All right.
I'm hooked. Let's go on this adventure.
Oh, well, if you're already hooked, I don't even need to do anything at all.
Well, oh no, amnesia. What's the hook?
Okay, I imagine having your party. They've gone out adventuring and everything. As they're coming back from whatever adventure, whatever current campaign they have been on, they get to the next town. And when they get to the next town, they see statues in the middle of the town square. And it's them. That these are the heroes of legend. And it talks about the adventure that you just went on as if it happened hundreds of years ago. And when people see you, they think that you're like cosplaying as the heroes of legend, and that it's a really good cosplay, because you look so much like them at this point. And when you try to explain to them that you are those people, the answer eventually comes back that, well, that's not possible. They've died. They died a long time ago. We can even show you where their graves are. You have a little bit of an issue, as you could probably guess. And if
doppelgangers from the past.
If you were to go to other towns, they might not necessarily have these statues, but they would know the stories. Like, you'd go into taverns, and the bards there would be singing songs about the adventures that you had gone on.
Okay.
There would be tales, there would be books that detailed your lives.
So I guess that begs the question of what was the adventure we just came back from? Do our characters remember the adventure they just came back from?
Oh yeah, I think that they remember what they just did. You're fully I don't think that you've been tampered with at all. Like, your characters are still very cognizant of what they've done and how they have done it. And thought that they had kept all their records. Yeah.
So I was asking because memory loss and then having like a time lapse could be a thing.
Right, right. It could. I don't envision them having a memory problem, because the reason I say that is because knowing that you've gone on those quests is kind of integral to knowing that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
That, everybody else already knows and has already, and maybe in some ways, intriguingly enough, has misremembered things about your quest. So when you're reading about it, the details don't add up to what you just did.
Oh, so it's slightly different.
Yeah, well, or that I'm just thinking, because sometimes history has a tendency to get, mixed up between translations, or when people actually go to record, the people that have recorded it on the information that they had is different than what you remember happening. Maybe because they only had certain journal entries, they only had certain pieces of information that were presented to them, not your personal recollection.
So the question is, if you guys have not left from that adventure to tell anyone about your story, like your adventure, who did? Who told them about it?
Right.
So it begs the question of maybe there's a situation like you're fighting a big bad evil guy, for instance, or a dragon, or some lich, or I don't know, some evil thing. I don't know what your previous adventure was, but maybe the big bad evil guy cast some sort of spell or had some kind of magic trap in there where it held you in place as if nothing had ever happened, like a stasis type spell. You don't perceive the fact that 1,000 years just passed. But 1,000 years just passed.
Here's another little twisty thing, though, that I was thinking about to just add to the mystery here. the world, when you get back into town, does not look like it has advanced 1,000 years.
Okay.
And the people are the same.
What about people you knew?
They're still
before
there.
your adventure. Okay,
They
so no
haven't
time has elapsed.
As far as you can tell. Or the possibility might have been you got transported back in time, and as far as they're concerned, you were only alive 1,000 years ago.
Okay. Because I was going to say, what if you go to, like, find your parents, for instance?
Right.
Are they alive? Are they not alive? Are you back in time and meeting your great-grandparents?
I was thinking that they would be alive, but they don't know who you are. They're there, but they don't know who you are, and they might have had your brothers and sisters. Your brothers and sisters might be there, but you are completely out of the picture.
Okay,
they know you from legend, but they don't know you personally.
And then you're like, I'm your son.
Yeah, and they go, well, no, I think you must be confused. Because we don't have another son.
But then they're like, but if we did have a son, we were thinking about naming them after this hero.
Yeah. Bootstrap principle. We're getting
100%. Bootstrap. I was thinking bootstrap paradox would be great for this.
Yeah.
Because you're introducing the characters to the thing that causes the event to happen. Like, oh yeah, they inspired their parents to have them as kids.
Oh yeah. And the records get corrected because you were there, and you can correct the records and write the new records down.
Yeah, this is
from
the
new
reason.
Information. Yeah,
it's the reason that I don't remember which Ocarina of Time. I think probably
either Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. Probably
Link. From adult Link teaches child Link how to play one of the songs on the Ocarina or whatever.
Right.
He learns it from someone, and it turns out he learns it from himself.
Right.
His future self teaches it to his past self. It's a bootstrap paradox. No information is actually introduced here. It has always been here. But there's no reason it exists to begin with.
Right. If I remember correctly in that, it was like he learned it when he was older, and then when they were able to use like the Song of Time and he went back, then the younger him could use it, and that informed that in the future he could use it. But it turned out the person he learned it from was him. That was my basic thought process, and the bootstrap principle would be very interesting to explore during this, but I kind of like the just general notion of coming back to town from your adventure and just feeling like you are now something ancient that has now stepped into the present that you're familiar with. But everybody else remembers this as something that happened, all of your adventures happening, all of your mythology, all of your history happening 1,000 years before this.
Yeah, so maybe time is a little finicky here.
Well, one of the ways I was thinking this might resolve is that on the current quest that you were on, or when you went away, there was a time dilation where you went backwards. And then everything that you had done essentially happened in the past without realizing it.
Yeah, you'd have to figure out some reason or explanation for that time dilation to occur, I think, though.
Right.
Because the players are going to want to investigate that. They're going to want to investigate what happened, why did this happen, you know?
In order to set it up this way where nobody recognizes you, it wouldn't just be you transporting back in time. Like, you and your entire life then gets taken out of, time itself.
I think
into another
I think the fun way to do this would be have someone be like, remember at the end of your adventure when you celebrated by going to that tavern and having that meal called the 1,000-year egg? Yeah, it happens that this displaces time by 1,000 years or whatever. Something like that. It could be tongue-in-cheek, it could be kind of silly, it could be kind of serious. It was like, yeah, you were actually petrified.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't realize time had changed by by a basilisk. Or something.
There's a basilisk involved now. Uh-oh.
Maybe you ate basilisk eggs, and turns out time-altering shenanigans happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, the second you eat a basilisk egg, you're gonna definitely feel like time altered. But
Or maybe you could write it in where they had to use a powerful, like, a genie or something for their last adventure, and as part of the deal or wish they made, the genie went, sure, I'll do that. But here's some fuckery for you, because this is what we do.
You know what you asked the genie? I wish I could have been a hero of legend. And so, and they're like, oh, we can do that. But what they don't tell you is that means that you have to have been legendary in the past. You have to be a hero of legend.
I think it'd be interesting to, on that notion, like, with the genie, different adventure hook ideas, just give players, be like, have your character have, like, one wish in the world they would love to make.
Sure.
And then be like, think about it, write it down, and we're gonna find something that can grant this wish, essentially. Or, like, not even grant it, but, like, go for that as a goal. I don't know.
Sure.
Something with that could be interesting. It's a little different than your hook, of course, though.
You could set something up if you knew that you wanted to kind of like make this the crux of like a campaign or something like that. You could probably you could have the characters tell you a quest that they would consider like their legendary quest. Like if what their character specifically thought would be their ultimate mission, what their legendary goal is. And so then you can go through those, like you can have those as campaigns, and then after the party's essentially gone on these legendary missions that they always wanted to go on, that's when this hits.
Yeah.
And then we have to get the context that they don't necessarily even remember this part, that this was what they had wished for.
Yeah.
And now they're coming back to the realization that there's a little bit of a catch.
Yeah. I think it'd be definitely cool if you used it later on in the campaign.
Yes.
If you did exactly that. You're like, all right, cool, we're going to do this, that, the other thing. And then several months down the line, it's like as they've made a name for themselves doing these quests or these things, this is the thing that hits them. And it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh no, something.
Well, that way too, you can seed it in there too.
Yeah.
So you could be like, all right, here's a little snippet of what might happen later, but like no context for it, Mm-hmm. Just little hints here and there that you can make note of, and they can try to piece together.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how Doctor Who.
Sure.
Through each of its seasons had been like, oh, Bad Wolf shows up.
Right.
Like almost like every other episode in the first season, but you don't understand it's relevant, so you don't pay attention to it.
Sure.
Or like how that season with the Master is there, and they keep talking about the Prime Minister or whatever, and then you get to the end of it, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. That's how
something like that.
Back.
I think would work really cool in a D&D game or an RPG in general.
There's also a certain hint, if you wanted to play it that way, that there's almost like an It's a Wonderful Life sort of thing about like, well, what if George Bailey was never there in the first place, and what's the world look like? But I think the different thing is that in this, it's not, well, the world would have been way worse without George Bailey. It's mostly like, if your party did something in the past, and theoretically it's been beneficial, but it's because you did it all the way in the past, and the present you didn't do it, but the past you did. Yeah. So anyway, that was my thought for an adventure hook. I don't know if you like that or not as a concept.
Yeah, I think that's fun. I think it'd be great for a later adventure after the party's been together. Definitely. Trying to introduce it at the beginning would be a little bit harder, I think.
Yeah.
Because they have nothing to pull from as characters. So
we got to do an adventure hook for something for a starting quest. We got to think of something for that.
The tavern that you're staying in is on fire. We know I've done this one.
Yeah, we've done this one. There's some rats in the basement.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I've done the your tavern is on fire.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
fun.
Hey, there's a crypt that has a bunch of zombies in it. Would you like to go and check that out? Yeah, we got to next time we do an adventure hook though. We got to think of one that's for a starting quest for the
Alright.
party. That's our new
Bet.
mission. All right. Hey, everybody, if you have an adventure quest that you want us to think about, just let us know in the comments down below, and maybe you can help us out, because we're thinking about
Maybe
this
we'll
stuff a
take
lot.
your adventure hook ideas and turn them into us talking for 30 minutes about it.
Yeah, I mean, we will take your brilliant idea and turn it into crap. That's what we're good at.